Thank you all so much for tuning in today. I'm really excited to dive into this office hours, both to learn all about how you can unlock value for your business through chatbots, and also because a core goal of Dreamers and Doers is to amplify you and the work you do. And one of the ways we achieve this is by facilitating game-changing educational events that give us all the opportunity to up-level together. So before we officially begin, I want to share a bit of background information on our esteemed expert. Keren is the founder and CEO of Bots, which creates custom chatbots for brands. She is passionate about bringing personalized chatbots to different industries, and in doing so, making technology a resource for anyone, including those who don't come from a tech background. Keren has extensive experience as a recruiter and previously worked as an IT recruiter at K4 Staffing and as an executive recruiter at iSearch Group. Before launching Bots, Keren was a senior account manager at Irvine Technology Corporation. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Keren. We are so excited to learn from your expertise today. We know how valuable your time is, and we're so grateful to you for investing in the Dreamers and Doers Collective in this way.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining, and I really appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here today, leading this workshop all about chatbots. So chatbots are the little AI character that pops up on your screen and begs the question, do I really need a chatbot for my brand? According to the personality site Truity, new circumstances and challenges surrounding the pandemic specifically have really forced people to lean into their introverted natures. But as it is, Myers-Briggs estimates extroverts make up only about 49% of the population. I grew up in a house of 9, and the school once told my mom that we were the only family without an answering machine. And the reason we didn't have an answering machine was because there was simply no way we were going to be calling you back. In fact, when the phone rang, we would literally hide, more for the hilarity of it. But the point is, according to Psychology Today and a whole lot of Redditors, introverts just don't do phone. But I get it. We've all had bad bot experiences. We've all, had bots that just truly didn't understand what we were asking, and that can, of course, be traumatic. And it's also, I understand, it's a daunting task to even think about. The problem is that customers are expecting it more and more. They expect 24/7 support. They want it on the channel of their choice. They want it, they want it to be consistent. They want it to sound like your brand, look like your brand. And on the flip side, companies are more short-staffed than ever.
Keren, we cannot see your screen. I think there should be content right now, I believe.
There should be, oh, you don't see the screen?
No, it just says Keren has started sharing screen.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. It's all the good stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let me. I'm just going to share my desktop.
Yeah, no worries.
You see?
It just keeps saying Keren has started sharing screen. Do you want to share your deck with me really quick, and then I can share on my end that way?
Sure. How will we change slides?
You can just tell me when to go next, and I will do it for you.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'll just send you the link right now. Can I just put it in the chat?
Yeah, that works. I just requested access.
Okay.
Okay, great. And share my screen.
You can start from slide 2 and I'll just quickly catch it up.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so this is just the quick definition I was giving of a chatbot, an AI greeter that pops up. It can pop up on a website, within an app, can also be through social media, and they are becoming more and more sophisticated and skilled. Next screen. And you can skip that one. Okay, you can also skip this, the problem we discussed. All right, thank you. So according to Business Insider, 45% of consumers don't care who they interact with, and 59% would rather go, I love this one, would rather go through additional channels than have to use their voice. That to me rings true for whatever reason. And 33% of all consumers and 52% of millennials would like to see their services handled through automated channels. Next. So what are your chatbot goals? So I think those numbers are pretty stark, and we'll come back to that. We'll discuss some of the skills and use cases that it may make sense and may speak to your brand. But on a very basic level, if nothing else, and I'm obviously going to make the argument for lots else, but if nothing else, it's one more tool in your tool belt. It's one more option for your users, right? Someone lands on your site. If they want to call you, that's still an option. If they want to chat with a chatbot instead, that becomes an option. For the purposes of this workshop, we're basically going to think of it as a planning session for a chatbot for your brand or one of your clients' brands. So I'll take you through a process similar to our client intake process, where we want to enable you and empower you to basically guide us through the specific use cases for your brand. We really want to get to the heart of not only your outward brand, but also the content and data that you've worked hard to put together and polish. In fact, if you think of it as a new employee, almost the same onboarding process you'd go through to teach your new employee all about the company, the brand, where to find things, that's really what we want to put your chatbot through. On our end, we're going to be looking to answer the same question. How do we build a chatbot that can truly speak intelligently about your brand? And so that's going to take a lot of input from your end. And whether you decide to build your bot with Bots platform or have our team build a custom solution for you or build it out elsewhere, either way, it should give you a great starting point. You should have some idea of what the bot is, what its goals are, how it greets its users, and what its conversational menu is, and even some of the back-end AI and triggers. Next slide, please. So on a basic level, a chatbot pops up on a website, provides 24/7 availability, greets users, and answers basic questions. Support is by far the top use of chatbots still. But what's happening is chatbots are getting more and more not only sophisticated in terms of the questions they can answer and the types of data sets they can handle and pull from, and how they can manipulate that data to create real personalized experiences for your users. And I'm not talking about personalized experiences like when we say, hi, your name, how is it going at your company? I'm talking about real personalized experiences. So they're picking up a lot of these great skills. So for instance, Bridge, next slide, please. I'm sorry, can you skip on? One more. Okay, and then can you click on the play button? Thanks. So here you're going to see Bridge interacting with a user, and the user will, let's see, so can I build a bot for your brand? I want to learn about bots. About our founder. And what I love here is that the chatbot's actually going to grab my calendar for the user. Would you like to schedule a time to speak with Karen? Yes. And so through an integration with Calendly, it'll be able to, right within the chat, pull up the calendar and book something for the user. So it's just one example of a skill right within chat, just making that really accessible to users. Next, please. So what I want you to think about is really start to visualize your chatbot. If we were going to build a bot for your brand, what would it look like? And what would we name it? You know, and really think about your brand, the look and feel, the colors, the voice. Next, please. And obviously there are a lot of different directions you can go with this. You can do kind of an animated thing. You can do more of a person, a stock image. A lot of companies already have, whether it's a custom Bitmoji or you can use your logo. You can use, if you have an avatar or mascot, obviously that's a really easy choice. And when I build a demo for a client or I start to build out a chatbot for them, I like to go through their site and socials. And sometimes you just find a character or an image that really pops out. But even if not, you start to get a feel for it. You take the brand and you take the images and you come up with some sort of really fun character, something that you can picture yourself chatting with, sitting there and looking at. That's how I like to think about it. Next screen. At Bots, we came up with Bridge, I think partially for the whimsy, but at the same time, I like that she's, she might be cute, but she's a super heavy hitter, or she can handle all these tasks. So Bridge's job is from the beginning to the end to really be the contact from the bot side. She greets users, she can get them registered, direct them within the site and the app, answer questions about the company, but then she'll actually guide you through the process of building your bot, hooking it up, and then if she needs to grab someone from the team, she can do that too. Next. So getting back to the bot building. So let's say we come up with a great character for your brand. We name it, we come up with a greeting. We really want to think about the voice of that bot. And here I'm obviously going to ask you to draw from what you've put thought into your brand and your brand's voice. Voice can mean a lot of different things, but here it's going to really require to actually have you write in that voice. And I think it's easier for some people, and for others, it takes a little bit more exploration and really thinking about, at the end of the day, like everything else, who is your customer? Who is your bot going to be greeting, right? Next, please. So your user persona, and that's what we want to learn from you. When I'm scripting Bridge or really any of our external facing bots, I'm really picturing, honestly, women like the women I'm having conversations with through Dreamers and Doers. I had a great call last week through the event that went on. And it really just reiterates this persona in my mind of a user who is fiercely independent and wants to be cutting edge and really embraces technology, even if, may not be technically technical, but pretty hands-on, maybe even too hands-on. I put in here, not great at delegating tasks. Maybe it's just me, but just someone who's really used to, someone who's put together your own website or email marketing or HubSpot or Intercom over time. You'll use the tools you're able to make it work. So with that in mind, what I want to know is really your user profile and how best to script toward your users. And obviously that'll vary by the brand and the use case. And it's also going to break into user segmentation. Next slide, please. Okay, so after that, we're going to want to understand user segmentation. How are we going to not only script to different user groups, but once we get into the actual scripting and mapping it out, we're going to want to know the different paths. So someone who's on your site looking for a job with your company is going to have a whole different experience than someone who's looking to purchase from your company. And it's not only the script, it's actually the underlying logic and AI that's going to be different, because what happens is you don't want someone asking a question about a job to be confused with someone asking a question about sales and the keywords intermingle. So we're really going to want to clarify the different use cases. Next slide. And the different, the user segmentation toward the goal of being able to cater to those users. And then of course, we're going to want to understand your user journeys. So from there, once we have that core process filled out, we'll be able to fill in the tools and the systems you're using during that journey. And then we'll really have a better understanding of the goals and calls to action we're looking at and how to work that into the framework of a script. But again, it really is more mirroring what you have versus coming up with something new that you don't already have in place for the most part. Next screen. So for example, one of our clients, and you can click that video too, thanks. So one of our clients is Moms in Bloom, which offers support for moms experiencing postpartum depression. And you can see Bloomy here live on their site. So what she just did was change the page based on the user query, which is what I wanted to show you as another skill of the bots, is to learn your site architecture and also content that may not be in your site, whatever the content is, and based on the user query to be able to direct the user. And so again, coming back to this is for me a really big piece of it is really kind of putting it on you to think about what is the content and what's the data that you're working with. That's going to vary so greatly from company to company, from industry to industry, but it's the same process really of making that accessible to users where, you know, today, if I go to, let's say, a site and I want to find the right podcast or the right blog post, it's really on me to kind of search through and find that. So that's another example of something where I love the idea of a bot really knowing the content, understanding your question, and then being able to refer the right content. Next slide. One more. So for Bloom, we built out, this is the flow we built out, where basically Bloomy has the ability to walk users through available packages. Are you new or have we chatted before? So identify as a new user or returning user. How can I help? Here's our packages. Would you like to speak with a Bloom specialist? Walk you through the process, chat, and kind of do a little bit of preliminary triage and about us. Meanwhile, I want you to understand what's happening on the back end. So as soon as a user clicks on Bloomy and begins that chat, the Moms in Bloom team gets a text. Whoever they've set up on their team gets an alert that someone's interacting with the chatbot. For them, that's key. They want to grab those chats. Different companies set it up differently. Some don't want live chat at all. It's really based upon your team and what you're looking for. But with them, they want to hop on the chat. But what Bloomy does, one of the things she does, besides being there and conversing, she's stalling, right? She's gathering the basic information for the agent so that when the agent joins the chat, or if the agent, you know, the agent can decide if they want to join the chat based on, is it a real lead? You know, what's the person looking for? So Bloomy's really kind of getting that ball rolling, getting the initial information for the agent, keeping the user on the line, as opposed to waiting for someone to enter live chat. On the right, you'll see the questions. So these are the questions that we expect Bloomy to be able to handle, and not just in these versions, in these utterances. Bloomy has to be able to understand other versions, obviously. So what is a Bloom support specialist? You know, there are so many different ways a user can say that, and we have to predict that. And so I'll walk you through that process also. But again, another thing to think about besides this script is going to be the questions. We're really going to focus hard on what are the questions that your users, it's beyond the frequently asked questions. What else are they going to ask? We really have to think about what other questions a user could ask, including at different points throughout the script. Next. So we have our bot phase and we have our greeting, and the question really becomes, now what? A traditional bot leads with, how can I help you today? And that really is their primary script. So in the chatbot world, when I talk about a script, people don't even necessarily know what I'm referring to, because chatbots are traditionally reactive, responsive, support focused. And they really rely on the user to lead the way or have the question or know what they want. Next slide. I love, my favorite from Steve Jobs is how he talks about users not knowing what they want necessarily. And I think that that's really relevant here. In fact, I think maybe particularly here because users don't, besides that they don't necessarily know what they're looking for, with chatbots, a user is not going to know what skills it's enabled with. We have to lead them there. Beyond that, I look at it as what I call building proactive scripts that have a mission and a call to action, because it's a great opportunity. You have someone engaging with you. I don't want to just answer a question. I will answer the question, but then it gives me insight into their intent and where I want to lead them in the script. So just like everything else, I'm not going to just leave that there. I want to lead the user toward my call to action. And I think that's a great place. This is a great place to get creative with your messaging. Next screen. To get creative with your messaging and at the same time show your user that you know who you're speaking to, right? So Bridge is designed to chat with users who want to build a chatbot or get a custom chatbot built for their brand. It doesn't mean that we don't want her to be able to chat with all sorts of users, but that's our core user persona. And so that's who I'm going to script toward first. Anyone else with a different question, as you can see, can select the other choices in what I call the conversational menu. So what I do is I start with a basic greeting, welcome to our company, but then I lead right into a call to action. And at the same time, I offer a menu without necessarily explicitly saying, here's your menu, but I'm offering users the other options like grab an agent, ask a question, schedule a call. And so this is what I want you to start to think about again, is this, that initial structure of your script. What's the greeting? What could be a fun call to action? We can also vary them. So each message you can put in, I think, 3 versions to randomize it. And the reason for that is just so that if a user were to run through more than once, they don't get the same, the same automated feel. And then eventually we're also going to work in some A/B testing around that. But so yeah, you can play with a few different messages also at your different intervals. Next screen. So then that's where we start to think about our conversational menu. Actually, next screen. And so here are some ideas, and we can work through some of these, but to give you, a high level, it's similar to probably what you have in your website menu or structure. You'll have about us, hours, location, team, the ability to ask a question, get support, either be led through support or go to user documentation or speak to an agent. We talked about scheduling a call, collect payments, showcase products and services. I'm going to talk about more. Handling registration and sign-in for membership organizations and things like that. Next screen. And then again, the next step will really sort of be to think about the end of the chat and the goals and the different call to action based on, like we talked about, the user segmentation and the different options that the user chooses. So whether it's email or grabbing a live agent, thinking about how we want to incorporate all of those skills that we talked about. Gathering a user's information and intent, that's easy. That's going to happen quickly and that's built in. So the question is, are there other skills we want to build in? And that's where I really like to learn about the tools and systems you're using. What can we integrate with? We're integrated with HubSpot. We're integrated with Shopify, so the bot can pop up on your store and answer questions about your products. I really want to learn about what else are we using where it makes sense to have the bot have access to your tools. Next screen. So this just runs through some more tasks that we can work in, scheduling meetings, collecting payments, gathering user data. Talked about the integration. The recommendation engine is a big piece, and I only touched on it, but I'll come back to it. But it's really one of the best features, in my opinion, of a chatbot. You've got the AI, you've got this heavy AI backend where matching is, in my opinion, one of the best features, right? It can chat with a user and use that script against its database. Whether that's matching with a product from your offering, a job opening, a gift suggestion, whatever that is, gets totally structured around your product. But at the end of the day, the core is there of being able to chat with a user and pull out the right result. Next. Okay, you can click play. So this is going to show what I was describing before, where a live agent has received a text that there's a chat going on. They click join chat, and the chat will alert the user that there's now a human entering. So we've got legal covered there. And then that's it. You get to just hop in and chat with your user. On the right, you'll see there's the parameters. That's what the bot has gathered through the chat, or of course you can just scroll up and read through. And then on notes, you can also leave some notes to be added. So everything will be collected. You can export it to HubSpot to keep up with your tracking. But that's the idea, is for an agent to just be able to hop into the chat, at any point. Next slide. So the more you start to think about it, the more you're going to start, I hope, to start to think about all these different use cases where a conversational, engaging solution sounds better than, let's say, landing pages, or forms is a big thing we're working on. Landing pages are static, they're kind of old school, they're boring. We want to add chat to the landing pages. And the best thing about it is how specific it gets, right? So if you tie it to a campaign you have going on, if you tie it to your marketing, there's so much you can do with it, whether it's ask Bridge about the event coming up and she can get you set up, she can answer questions. So it's really about, it becomes about making the bot, again, keeping it informed about what's going on, not only about your company, but as new things come up, new promotions, new events, new marketing. If there's a new article coming out, the bot has to be in the know about that. So kind of coordinating it. But here, I love the idea of using it also within landing pages. And that's something that we can offer as well, besides on the side in its traditional spot. Next. Bots for hiring. So this is a huge passion of mine. My background is recruitment, and it's actually why I started building this, which I didn't intend to build a chatbot platform. I really just wanted to build a better recruitment solution, but now it's here. And for hiring, I think chatbots are really clutch, because it's such a tough process on both ends. For candidates, it's like, obviously the dreaded black hole, and just putting in all the work up front, and they're expected to do that process at each company or each job board, and then they know they're never going to hear back. So those numbers go down because they know, I can apply to Google, but I'm not going to hear back, even though I want to work there. And what's always amazing to me is companies are losing that high value touch point. You have someone who respects your company enough to apply for a job, and you're not even necessarily acknowledging their interest. So to me, that's a key area where I feel chatbots can just really be a big part of the process. So a chatbot that lives on a career site can not only answer questions about the company's culture, job requirements, bring in videos, engage users. They can also screen candidates. They can match candidates against job openings. They can work with recruiters on the flip side. Next screen. And this has a video. Oh. You can skip that. Okay, let's try this. And I'm gonna have you pause it after. Oh, there's no sound. Okay, you can skip this one too. Well,
I think there is some. I was just muted, so let me try.
Okay.
At Learn Grant Writing are absolutely in love with this new tool we're using called Chatbots. So here it is. This is Cece, who's actually our real world assistant. And this is essentially a chatbot that's on our website, and it has been absolutely game changing for closing a little bit of a gap we had, which was that the only way our customer was responding to us is if they replied to an email. And we all know that email open rate, even on a good day, is 30%. So we were missing a lot of people, maybe just wanted a quick answer. So give you a quick demo. This is so fun. So, hey there, what's caught your eye about grant writing? And we just let them pick something. It gives us a little bit of context. All right, said interested in freelance grant writing. And then I say, nice, what are you hoping to accomplish? And whatever they fill in is just useful information, right? So there we go. And then she'll say, great, what can I help you with today? And what's been really cool is that a lot of people are just hitting take the free grant writing class, and they're happy and they don't actually want anything else. They just go and find that class and go to it. So right here, they'll say, is there anything else we can help you with? And they say, nope, all good. And they're out of here. Okay, does Intercom let you include beautiful photos like this? No, it's amazing. This is so cool. It's so aesthetically beautiful. So then I said, yeah, you can help me with something else.
Did you say pause?
Yeah.
Okay.
But so that's Meredith at Learn Grant Writing, and she is a Dreamers and Doers, and she's awesome. And she's actually our first client to build it on her own. She's amazing. So she went with the tutorials and the chatbot guides and built her own bot. It's live, it's working. And so she's super clever in how she used it with images and videos, and that's really what I wanted to show you. But yeah, within e-learning, I think, again, it's just the perfect zone for a chatbot, because it can have multiple functions. Besides keeping a user going through the process, it can learn a process and keep you on track, through kind of like a checklist, answering questions and grabbing help. It can learn the content, right? So it can support the materials, depending on how much you can feed it. It can support that materials and not just guide you through the process, but be there to answer questions. So I really love it for e-learning and education. I'm actually talking with a couple San Diego schools for grade school level look at it. And then we're also partnering with Antoinette and her team, also Dreamers and Doers, specifically looking at how to best incorporate chatbots into larger e-learning programs. Next. Chatbots for recommendations. Actually, you can go to the next one. It'll have it. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to talk about chatbots making recommendations, but that brings me to, I never really got into what is AI. A little bit hard to give a full look at AI, but I'm just going to do a quick. But I know everyone's really somewhat familiar with it. We're all using it every day, with Siri and Alexa and everything like that. So AI is really defined as a computer system performing tasks that normally require human intelligence. Machine learning is specifically, learning to adapt to growing and learning using the algorithms and statistics that it's provided. And so I'm going to bring that back to how we work that into the chatbots. But if you think about it, basically, if the chatbot is just leading a user through the script we described, that's not really AI. It's more like logic, following a logical flow. But AI is going to be what we're going to work into the unexpected things that a user's respond. What's called generalized learning. When you put the chatbot out in the real world, what happens when it encounters responses that it's not expecting? Next slide. And so this is where I emphasize that chatbots grow smarter over time. But one of the reasons we've all had terrible experiences with chatbots is because chatbots are still in their infancy, even now, very much now. Like, I love that because we haven't seen it yet. I mean, they're just getting their legs beneath them. So with your brand specifically, my thing is get it up and running right away, because you'll be blown away by the responses. It's not what you expect. I can script and really think I'm going to come up with everything a user is going to think of, and it's never the case. I'm like blown away by the things users think of. And as a writer, I've never had that kind of immediate feedback to my writing of knowing where I missed the mark, where I hit the mark, what didn't make sense to users. And so what we do is we give you the tools in terms of making your bot smarter. It requires working with that data, annotating the chats. We can do that in test mode by interacting with the chats, but really in actual chat history, going back to the chat history, reading through and kind of correcting and teaching the bot what it got wrong and how to be better in future interactions. Next slide. You're gonna hit play. So this is going to show you how we did that for Hazel. Hazel's a bot we built for Pink Haze, which is a cannabis brand for women. It's awesome. And so what we did was we built out custom entities using their strains. They have 3 main strains: Paint the Sky, Above the Clouds, and Supermoon. And I actually took a huge data set of 5,000 keywords from Leafly and then adapted it to basically break down the ones that I felt were relevant into their 3 different strains. And so in annotations, you can add a keyword or paste text and then assign it to the right strain or whatever it is we're annotating or creating entities for. Here, you'll see if I'm testing it. So I feel anxious. I want to get high, paint the sky. So you can see that the system is recognizing the correct entity. And then the positive and negative and yes or no are actually just built into the system in general so that the bot can understand if the user makes one of those things. But again, so it's not about just cannabis. It's about you identifying in your end the potential, what entities, what data do you have that we could really play with to where the bot starts to really surprise users and really be useful. So here the bot will chat with the user, and if the user will say, I really want this, or here's my symptoms, the bot will ask a few more questions. Is it your first time? Do you know what you're doing? And then act accordingly, either make a recommendation, grab a live agent, however it's set up to help. Next. So frequently asked questions. So this is going to be the basic, and we set these up to be kind of consistent where you can fill out, any of these pieces of information. You can skip those that aren't relevant, but these we set up to where automatically they're set up for recognizing different variations of the questions. So what's the story of your business might be, how did your business come to be? However, the user asks that in a different fashion, the bot should know how to grab these basic pieces. And then a little bit more than that. So with locations, we have zip code recognition. So if you put in your locations, your brand locations or your store locations, and then a user gives their zip or city, the bot can suggest the closest location, for instance. So these are the easy ones, I would say. Next. Beyond the FAQ, right? Beyond the obvious questions, we'll want the frequently asked questions specific to your site, but what it's going to be is thinking in terms of triggers now, thinking in terms of, less in terms of a user asking a question a very specific way, and more in terms of those keywords and triggers, how else they may ask it, and thinking about, the emails you get and the chats you get currently, what are they asking and how are they asking it? But again, as they come in, we'll be able to add them to the bot's library of those triggers that it recognizes. Next. So this is just look at the triggers within the system to show you kind of what it means. So here the bot is going to respond with interested in exploring a position with Bots Incorporated if any of the triggers on the bottom are hit. So if a user were to ask Bridge about careers, job, hiring, resume, any of these, Bridge will respond with interested in exploring a position with Bots Incorporated. Next. Okay, next. Okay, so the missing slide was just in terms of those triggers, how we go through kind of setting up, it's similar to what we were talking about. Beyond the variations of the keyword, what you're going to think about is, does it matter when a user says something within a script? So if the bot says, "Hi, Karen, how can I help you?" and I say, "I'm wondering what services you have." Is that different than if I say that elsewhere in the chat? Could I say that accidentally in response to any of your questions? So we think about stuff like that in terms of are there any locations where we want a trigger to specifically fire? And are there areas we don't want? So for instance, we turn off triggers at someone's name or email address, right? We don't want that firing something random just because it recognizes certain text. So that's just, again, just something that we'll go through and think about. So coming back to Chatbot goals, we looked at some of these before. Next screen. Oh, actually, that's it. Sorry. But it's kind of a lot to go through, but I think just wanted to give you basically like the skeletal look at it of if you were going to build a chatbot. Honestly, I didn't want to have I was hoping for it to be underwhelming versus overwhelming. I don't want it to seem like it's this huge undertaking, because at the same time, your brain, like the answers to all these pieces. It's really just putting it together. And the good thing with the chatbot is you can build it over time. You can correct it. Once it's out there and greeting and gathering that data, you'll have a lot more information on how to build it, how to structure it. Don't be overwhelmed. I definitely think everyone should add a chatbot and let it help you. Let it really, handle some of the automated pieces. That's it. Any questions?
Yay. Oh my gosh, that was so good.
Sorry about the technical difficulty.
No worries. We just work through it, it's all good. Technology. I definitely feel like, yes, there's a lot, but I feel very empowered and I'm ready to get Dreamers and Doers bot going. I think this is so great.
Thank you. That's awesome. That's what I want to hear.
Now, if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or, drop a question in the chat. We can address it.
How does it measure ROI if sales is your goal? Love it. Awesome. So it depends on, there's a few ways to do it. If it's a big call center, I think that's the easiest, because can we free up your agents, right? But even for a smaller organization, I think it's kind of going to be the same question. Is there anything we can free up? Is there time saving and money saving, right? So 30%, so we're seeing for customer support, it's saving 30% generally. That's, I think, the big piece is, what can it take off your plate? What are the chats or the calls that you're getting bogged down with, but you don't want to turn off? In other words, I don't want to miss out on leads, but I can't handle every lead and every question coming in. I think that's the big ROI if sales is your goal. So I know for Meredith, she's tracking it based strictly on conversions. How much is the bot converting? And it's doing, I need to check what her ROI is, but I know for her, she's seeing that the bot is converting people who might bounce otherwise. Does that make sense? I'm thinking, I don't know on our, we can definitely build it in. Sorry. The question is, can you track if they go from bot to sales page? I would figure out, yeah, I'm sure we can track any link. I just don't know if it's built in yet, but it's definitely something we could do with link tracking. Sure. Yay, how do we learn more about pricing getting started? Awesome. So if you want to build it yourself, it's super affordable. It's generally priced at $19 per agent per month. So we want to keep it really affordable and just get in there and use it. We're still there to guide you through. You'll have, besides the chatbots and tutorials, there's myself, Andreas, and Tan are our core team with Leonora on design. And so we'll all be there to really help. We really want to learn about your systems, like I said a million times, sorry, but to really figure out how to make it work for you. Yes, please schedule a time anytime. And also, if you want to email me anything, what I really was hoping was maybe you got some answers where you say to me, these are the skills, some of the skills we need, or that are exciting to me, or here's where it fits in, and we can go through the rest of the process. Who on your team will be handling the chats, that kind of thing, where to route it, all those specifics. In terms of custom pricing, it really depends on, and that's, I love building out chatbots for brands custom. I think it's really, that's where, for me, it's more fun, but it just depends on the complexity. Is the bot going to be hiring? Is the bot going to be selling products? But I'm happy to throw a proposal together with anyone who wants to just give me a rundown of where they think it would fit in, how complex the script would be, what kind of data and content you're working with, and how many agents on your team. That's what we're basically going to look at to come up with a custom quote. And it can either be subscription or like a perpetual license, whatever works better on your end.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that information and putting together such a fantastic presentation. I loved how you incorporated videos. I know we had a couple of videos, but I feel like we all walked away with a whole lot today. So thank you so much for hosting today. And thank you everyone for joining and asking such great questions and participating. It's always such a pleasure to learn alongside everyone. Thank you, Keren, so much. We really, really appreciate you. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you on the next event. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.